Well, I've done quite a bit of acting. I've been in Bad Girls, Coronation Street, quite a regular character in Corrie. I kept going backwards and forwards in it, and Bloody Murder, stuff like that. I've done plenty of little bits and pieces, but lots of the people which went to the same drama school as me, Steve Coogan, Caroline O'Hearn, John Thompson, they've all made it by creating their own characters and writing their own thing and putting themselves in it. Now, as an actor, you just get to go for auditions time and time again, and you're just saying somebody else's lines, and they're not made for you. So it's trying to fit your character into what they want you to be. So I got sick of that. It's a bit of a cattle market, you know. You'll find out at 4 o'clock tonight that you've got to be in London at 8 tomorrow morning, and then you're there for 5 seconds. They'll ask you to look at the camera and say, "I love carrots," and that's it, and then they send you home again. So I decided it's about time I created something, and I wrote a book a few years ago, which is still being written really, but I wrote these characters that lived underground. And then I went on a ghost walk, again for the first time in about 20 years, in York, where they have about 8 actors every night of the year doing ghost walks. And I thought, yeah, I should do this. I love Manchester, I love ghost stories, I'm an actor, I love performing live, and nobody else was doing it in Manchester. So I got in there straight away, and luckily for me, I'm the first one who's doing it on a weekly basis. What I really love is the Hammer House of Horrors. They're a bit campy and the fake blood looks stupid and stuff like that, but there's something, they've captured a real atmosphere, and I tried to capture that in the Ghost Walk. Well, I've tried, whether I've achieved it I don't know, but I've tried to capture that, because there's lots of laughs to be had in the Hammer films as well, so it's not taken too seriously. It's the difference between me and Flecky Bennett. He shouts. I usually start the Ghost Walk on the last doing. I might burst into it. Can't help myself. Welcome to me. When I created this ghost walk, I had to compile stories, and I had to sign a contract saying that all the stories I tell will be true, which is not quite right as ghost stories go. You can only say the well-documented accounts, which means I haven't made them up. It means they've been passed on from generation to generation. My personal favourite has got to be the one about Hannah Beswick, the woman that was buried, well, yes, I suppose buried inside a grandfather clock. So they took the insides of the grandfather clock out and stood Hannah Beswick up inside a grandfather's clock. And where the face of the clock would have been was Hannah Beswick's black twisted face, like a prune. And they had a little red velvet curtain made which pulled across the glass, and this grandfather clock stood can't speak today. I'll say that again. This grandfather clock stood pride of place in Dr. I'm going to have to speak to my spirit guide, Fernakapan. Hang on a minute. Fernakapan, what's the name of the doctor? Dr. Charles White, thank you. Stood pride of place in Dr. Charles White's house for many years, this grandfather clock, with the body of Hannah Beswick inside. And for years and years it stayed there, and people used to come from all over the world to look at it, and she became known as the Mummy of Manchester. Then she was taken and hung in the entrance hall to Manchester Museum, where she stayed there for over 100 years. And when she was buried, she's not happy about this. It took 100 years for her to be buried, and she's been seen haunting the streets around where the museum used to be, with her black, twisted face, like a prune. So I think I'd like to haunt Highgate Cemetery in London, the city of the dead, because all the best are laid to rest there. And plus, they believe that Dracula himself is buried in Highgate Cemetery. I'd like to be there so I could come back and scare people in Hampstead and Highgate because they need something up them, and I could provide that.
Every time this young maid is seen, she's always seen in flames. Now, some people believe that's because that's the way she died. Others believe she's in purgatory. But she's got the coolest name out of all the ghosts in Manchester, and she's simply known as, are you ready for this? She's simply known as the Girl on Fire. Right now, let's say it again, 5 years training for that. She's simply known as the Girl on Fire.
You want to see it down there where I live, it's beautiful. It's all like this behind me. It's all Victorian down there, It's full of little passageways. There's old posters, there's air raid shells, there's the shops, there's a cheese store, there's a bowling alley, yeah. So you can forget about what they've got to offer up here. When we look at the state of the people I have to take round, including you. I spend most of my time on the internet down there because we get a reception. I stick my dongle up through the grid. I have to wiggle it about a bit, but I do get a reception. So I like to work on my computer down there. Obviously I bring the money back from what I earn on the Ghost Walk and take it back to my people who scavenge around. And I often like looking for the rat people, the Manchester rat people who live down there in the level below us. And sometimes they pop their little heads out. But yes, that's what I do mainly. Hunt rat people and play on the internet. You know, we enjoy ourselves. Oh, the bells. Never mind Dracula, what sweet music they make. It's behind you.